What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the Canon 1Dx Mark II. And is this camera still worth it? It's almost 4 years old. And is it still worth the money, or is this camera outdated and should you just skip it and buy something else? So let's jump into it. Right off the jump, let's talk about the obvious, which is number one Canon colors, dual pixel autofocus, 4K 60 frames, 1080, 120, vertical grip. It's big, it's heavy, it has a massive, and I mean massive battery. All in turn gives you a pretty decent camera. And this is an extremely heavy camera, but is it still worth it? Let's talk about it. At around $5,500, is this camera worth the price tag? Because $5,500 is an extreme amount of money. For a while, most travel vloggers use this camera and they justified it for the smooth, super buttery, super crispy 120p at 1080. That was like a go-to standard. With the new Canon 90D coming out, is it really worth it? I've started to see a lot of people jump ship from the 1DX Mark II into things like the Canon R, and even going back to the 5D Mark IV, which is what I'm currently filming this on right now. There's also a new mirrorless version of the 90D. I'm not too sure what that is. 90D is coming out. I think it's the Canon M6 Mark II, I think that's what it is. These cameras are going to have full frame 4K 1080 at 120 frames a second. Yes, they're crop sensor, but are they going to be worth it compared to the 1DX Mark II? They're going to be for sure a lot cheaper. Everyone definitely raves on about Canon's autofocus system, the dual pixel autofocus. I honestly love it. It's been in a lot of the recent cameras that have come out, and it's super snappy. I love it. It snaps into focus. It just knows what you want to focus on. It's like you have a focus puller on you at all times, just keeping you in focus, locking it in. And I would say 95 to 97% of the time that it's always in focus and it knows what you want to focus on. So that is definitely a key point for this camera. Since we're on the topic of video, I want to talk about the 4K. Yes, it is cropped, but the 4K bitrate is so high that the 4K image that you get is beautiful. Like, it's super high quality. With that being said, I honestly really wish that you could decrease the quality of the 4K, because the file sizes are absurd. They're massive. If you want to film in 4K, it's gonna take up a crazy amount of space, and for me it's just not worth it. Like, I never really use the 4K unless I'm shooting just like 1, 2, 3 clips. If it's something I really want to be super high quality, then yes, I shoot 4K, but I will not shoot a full video in 4K because it's too much. But with that being said, what I personally like to do is I like to shoot in 1080 and then upscale to 4K, because the bitrate of the 1080 is so high that it just gives you a beautiful image, and you can't really tell the difference between like something like Sony's 4K and Canon's 1080. That's enough about video. Let's talk about photos, since this is a photo camera that we are talking about. At 20 megapixels, this isn't really anything to like rave on about. It's nothing like 80 megapixels, 100 megapixels. It's nothing that's anything special really. At 14 frames a second, this is crazy. It's super fast. So it's definitely an essential for all sports photographers. For one, anyone who's shooting something that's very fast and you want to get that specific shot. If you're more of a portrait shooter and it's a lot slower, maybe this isn't the camera that you want to get. This camera also has 2 CF card slots, so you can back up your photos to both cards as you're shooting them. And I think this is ideal for like wedding shooters and anybody who shoots stuff that's like one-off that you can't really go back and recreate. Like, how bad would it be if you're shooting a wedding and they're paying you a lot of money to shoot this wedding and your card corrupts? It's not like you can go back and be like, all right, sorry guys, we need to go back and reshoot your whole wedding because my memory card is corrupt. They're gonna be like, what the heck? I think it's ideal to have a backup of whatever you're shooting. If you're a professional in that setting, you never wanna lose your images. and you never want to have to go back and recreate them. That's why we back things up. That's why we have hard drives, external hard drives, and yeah, just you always want to have the backup. This is a super professional camera. It's big, it's heavy, it's super weather sealed, it's built for battle. You could literally hit someone in the head with it. Don't do it though. But it has a vertical grip, the battery's massive, it'll last you all day. And if that's your type of shooting, then yes, the camera is definitely worth it. But if your style is more just running gun and you're just shooting photos or you're not shooting sports, then I think there's better options out there. At $5,500, that is an absurd price tag. You could buy like 2 Canon Rs, 4 Canon RPs, you could buy probably like 4 90Ds, you could buy a Canon R, a Canon 5D SR, I want to say, I think, which is the high megapixel camera for if you want to shoot portraits. Then you could have a video camera. You could buy a cinematic like C100 Mark II. You could get a 5D Mark IV. You could get a bunch of different cameras, or you could buy multiple cameras. You could buy a camera and a bunch of gear. You could buy a bunch of stuff. You could buy a used car for that price. So that's a lot of money. For YouTube videos, I honestly don't know how vloggers do it. I'm struggling to hold up this 5D Mark IV. My shoulder hurts right now. It's interesting. I couldn't imagine vlogging with a freaking 1DX Mark II. Personally, my opinion is I don't think that this camera is worth buying for $5,500 in 2019. I honestly think that there's better options available. If you're shooting sports or you're probably looking at this video, then you probably know why you specifically want this camera. My opinion is there's better stuff that you could buy with the money, and that's just my opinion. That's all I have for this video. If you did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help. And until the next video, peace.